Hi, I'm Roy Collin, the host of the podcast. You can find everything about me by scanning the QR code there or going to roycollin.com, and you'll find my 6 podcasts, the Podfather, helping people become podcasters, the Awakening, exposing fraud and corruption but with solutions, the Crypto, all things blockchain technology, meditation podcast, speaking podcast, and the Learn Polish podcast. You can also help the show by actually making a donation, visiting the store, or helping my sponsors. I hope you enjoyed this week's show. Welcome to the Speaking Podcast. You can find all our episodes on speakingpodcast.com. My guest today, he's Colombian, but based in New York, USA, head instructor of Max Martial Arts, fitness professional, mental game coach, and like me, he's got a lot of podcasts. He's got 5 and they're successful. So he can go by Rafael Gomez, but better known as Sifu Rafael. So please welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you.
Yeah, no problem at all. So, I mean, I suppose let's go back to the martial arts, because I presume the martial arts started a lot sooner than the podcasting. So, how did you get into martial arts?
Well, it's very interesting because it was by accident almost. Most martial arts nowadays usually you have a parent take the child. That was never my case. I was with a bunch of friends, and we were out in the street playing, and one of the kids says, I have to go. And I'm like, I want to come. He's like, you want to come? I'm like, yeah. So we go to his house, and his dad says, who's he? He goes, well, he wanted to come. Well, then he better get in it. I didn't know his dad was a master, and his dad started training me along with his son. So I loved it. And every time that his son was going to train, I would jump in and go with it. And that's how my martial arts journey started. I got lucky.
That's the guy. I was 16 and I was very small when I went in. I remember I was at a wedding when I was 17, and I'm at my mother's height, and she was 5'4" and 6 foot now. So I was very late growing, so I was in lots of fights. People like to pick on the small guy. And I used to deliver newspapers around by me. And there was these 8 guys that they just kind of tell you, come over, to grab the newspapers, and then they decide to when to let you go when they've read the newspaper kind of thing. But one day they set him on fire, and a guy who happened to be a third dan came over, hunted him off, and said, hey, you should come up to this kung fu place there, it might help you. And yeah, so I basically got into it. I don't know, was it 6 or 8 years? I just loved it. And there was 3 instructors. There was actually an 8 dan as well, or 6 dan. Like we did swords, we done all weapons and everything. And I just loved it. And I suppose being an instructor as well, because sometimes people just even public speaking and everything, even though I was late to the game of public speaking, but I was teaching the class as well at some stage. It never fazed me. And I could never get my head around that I was terrified of like speaking in public, but in Kung Fu, no problem. Screaming, no problem.
Yeah. Ordering people around, no problem.
So which one did you do?
You reminded me of a story when you said newspapers, because when I was in my 20s, I had a girlfriend who lived in a bad neighborhood, and I used to have to take a train, and then I used to have to walk 2 miles to her house. And I used to go during the day. And the first time I was there, and it's now like 8 o'clock at night, so it's dark out. And then she didn't realize the time either. And she said, oh, I have to go home now. I said, okay, no problem. And she goes, but it's dangerous. There's gangs on every corner. And I said, okay. I said, do you have a newspaper? She goes, a newspaper? I said, yeah. I said, I need a newspaper so I can go home, be safe. She goes, okay. So she gave me a newspaper. I said, good night. I take the newspaper, I rolled it up. So now it's a weapon. And what wound up happening is, instead of me, if I saw a gang if I'm walking on the sidewalk and there's a gang right here, instead of me going across the street to bypass them, because they would have seen me, they saw me coming, they would have said, oh, he crossed the street, he's afraid of us. So I went right through them, right through the middle of them with my newspaper. And they were a little bit surprised, because they were like, hey, how are you? So they all said, and I went through like several gangs before I got my train. And that became a regular thing where I always walk with a newspaper. I didn't have a weapon, but to me, that was a weapon. To them, guy's just crazy, and he's carrying a newspaper. So that's what you reminded me of.
But it's an important point, and I've kind of noticed that even growing up and everything, that if you cross the street, they'll come after you. They'll beat you up. And when you walk through them, like I saw it, I mean, I was in fights nearly every day of my life growing up. And even, I remember one guy, he was just so wide. He used to beat up the teachers. And outside my house one day, he shouldered me, and I punched him, and he beat the crap out of me. But I kept going, and he never touched me since after that. But I was often walking along with the neighbour, and he'd just walk up to him and just knock him out. Just punch him in the head and knock, and he'd just give me a heads up. And like I learned, you know, don't give in, because when you don't even try, unfortunately, I mean, I wish I was never in a fight, but you kind of have to, because they respect you for it as well.
Yeah. When there's a no choice situation, I'd rather be well prepared than not. That's a key ingredient, to know what to do.
Absolutely. So, what did you try all different types of martial arts, or did you stick with one style, and that's been the case all along?
Well, the master that I started with was karate. And what was fascinating about him is that I saw him defend himself against somebody who had a machete, and he never hit the guy, ever. That's interesting. And that stopped for, after like 6 months or so. But then I went and I found a Kung Fu school, and we did it in the basement of a church. Now, mind you, I told you, my parents never took me. My parents didn't even know I was doing martial arts, because they thought I went out with my friends. So I found a school because a friend of mine said, "Hey, I'm going somewhere." I'm like, "Where are you going?" He goes, "I'm going to go do Kung Fu." Kung Fu, what is that? And then he goes, "I got to go to the church." I go to the church. He tells the instructor he wants to try out. And the instructor goes, "Okay." He goes, "It's back in the day, it was $5 a week." I said, "Okay, I can figure that out." And that's where my Kung Fu journey started, and I've been doing Kung Fu ever since.
And was it always, because like when we did it, we started getting into weapons and swords and stuff, and I've seen some of your videos and some brilliant videos. I mean, you are really talented. When you look at the YouTube, you see all the different things that you're doing. But was it something that you kind of saw weapons and went, "Oh, I have to do that," or was it something that everybody had to do?
It was just, you're in the room, here you go, here's a weapon, learn it. I'm like, "Oh, cool." And then, one of the things I realized, that by learning to use a weapon, you're a different fighter than if you never picked up a weapon. Because a weapon, if you don't move your body with the weapon, you're going to get hurt. The weapon's going to come back and hit you. So you need to learn how to adjust your body to flow with the weapon. So now, this is why, for me, having that newspaper was easy. I had no problem. If I had to get into that situation, the newspaper would have been my weapon. And I would have been very comfortable doing it, because I've used all kinds of weapons, and the weapon truly becomes part of you.
I remember that. I think he was a sixth then. I remember him saying, "You can kill somebody with a leaf." And I was like, "How can you kill somebody with a leaf?" And he said, "You ram the leaf down his throat with your fingers."
That's it.
But I know we were doing nunchucks, changs, some people call them changs, and sticks. But what we had to do is we had to kind of go into horse dance at the end of the night, and they just start belting you with all this. Even with all the throws, I used to go home with loads of bruises. And my mom used to say, "You'd be better off getting beat up every now and again. You'd have less bruises." But I think, I used to love it. And I think it toughens you up so much. And one thing is strange is because, I'm 17 years in in Poland. So, I haven't done that. But even, I think I stopped when I was about 24, 22 in Ireland, the Kung Fu, because I started working around the country. And I started doing speeches about 5 years ago. And one of them, I just started talking about martial arts. And I asked the guy to come up, look me at them. I didn't even practice beforehand. The muscle memory was there for how to get out of a headlock. It was like, for me, I was like thinking later, what if I forgot? But it was just, like, it's always there because we practice so many times.
Mm-hmm. We do. It becomes muscle memory, if you will. It's instinct also.
And like with, have you used butterfly knives and other kind of, because the picture that you had, you were telling, I even forget what you had told me because I asked you about it, but what was that one that you have a picture on your screensaver?
So guando.
A guando, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So for me, there's different weapons. So you have short weapons, flexible weapons, and long flexible weapons, like a 3-sectional staff, a double sectional staff, the long weapons, right? You have knives, you have fans. So everything, once you learn how to use a weapon, everything can become a weapon, as long as you know how to yield it and wield it.
And so let's get into the thing we're both passionate about, the podcasting. So, like, you got 5, but how did that all start for you?
Well, it's very interesting. During COVID, we were told we had to shut down. So I already had set everything up for Zoom even before, because I've been teaching people around the world Kung Fu. And back in the day, I used to send people a videotape. And they used to send me back a videotape to show me how they did their stuff, if they understood it. And then I would advance them that way. And so as we're going along, I've done some Skype calls and all that. And so now Zoom was in the picture. So I learned how to use Zoom really well, how to make sure nobody jumped in on the call, all that stuff. So all the safety stuff that we all need. And so when we were told we had to shut down, I told my staff, my school, and I said, hey guys, it's Monday. We were told we have to shut down. Take tomorrow off. But on Wednesday, we're coming back. I have 7 classes a day, and that was 7 hours straight. And it was all different kinds of classes. And so I would work. I started that Wednesday, and from that, it was for a very long time, every day, Monday through Friday, 7 classes every single day, Monday through Friday. And then I realized that people were getting a little bit sad, tired of Zoom, tired of not being together. A lot of them told me they miss me and all this kind of stuff. So I said, how can I help them? So I said, I know. I'm going to talk to my black belts and I'm going to say, let's have coffee with Sifu on Saturday morning. No classes Saturday. You don't have to come in a uniform. Because when we did the Zoom classes, everybody had to be in uniform, including me. And so what wound up happening is I said, we're going to have coffee with Sifu. As you can tell, I am Colombian, so I do use a big cup. And so, and I said to them, I want you guys to ask me any questions and let's get into it. And it was supposed to be about an hour. It wound up being 2 hours. And then I started teaching them about how the body moves, how all these different things. And then I would show clips of movies and I'd say, hey, you guys know these moves. They're like, what? I said, now let me break it down for you. And what wound up happening is they were like, oh man, can we talk about this next week? And of course we can. And then from there, I said, hey, let me ask you guys, do you think other people would want to be here with us? And they're like, absolutely. We're learning so much, but it's so entertaining. I said, okay. So then I said, let me consider doing a martial arts podcast. So I started listening to a lot of podcasts. And I didn't do a martial arts podcast, even though I thought it would have been a good idea. I'm going to tell you why. Because as much as I love martial arts, you can only talk about punching and kicking so much. After that, it's the same story over and over and over again. And when I was listening to the martial arts podcast, it was the same story over and over again. And then you would follow somebody, they only did 20 episodes and then they didn't do anything, or 30 episodes, or they did one a month. But I said, I want to really impact people. So because I used to teach gymnastics, I used to teach swimming, I taught martial arts, and I've been a coach to businesses. I've been a coach to people when they want to get on a stage and all these different things. And so I said, I need to talk to coaches. That's who I need to talk to. The people who make a difference in other people's lives. And then I started thinking deeper, and I said, well, let's consider, Roy, who's ever been your coach? Who was your first coach? Your mom or your dad, right? Yeah. So when we consider that right there, those were our first coaches. But it didn't stop there. Your parents were your first, or maybe if you were an orphan, maybe whoever took care of you, they were your first coaches. But then you went to school, and we call them teachers, but they're really your coaches. They're trying to instill knowledge on you. They're trying to help you. They're there to help you gain something. And then you went to maybe basketball or soccer, you went to gym class. They were your coaches. So now I'm thinking, and your science coach, your math coach, your English coach, wait a minute, we'll call them teachers. I think they're coaches. So I need to talk to them too. But wait a minute, there's a business coach, somebody who's going to help me with money, somebody who's going to help me become a better actor, somebody who's going to help me with my voice, somebody who's going to help me get over some fear. Wait a minute, all the professional athletes have coaches. So then I started doing a deeper dive into coaches, and everything that I saw out there about coaching was football, soccer, sports coaches, and they talked about one sport. And I said, that's really cool, but I don't want to talk about one sport. I want to talk to the people who make an impact on all of us, on you, on me, and everybody listening. So who are they? I want to talk to the basketball coach. I want to talk to the football coach. I want to talk to the swimming coach, the talent coach, the coaches. When you don't know how to do something, the ones that teach you, those are coaches. That's where Coaching Call started. And I did a deep dive, and nobody was doing that. I was the first one. Now, there's other people doing it now, because guess who started it? And that's okay. Listen, the more the merrier. But I always think that we need to not be afraid to take something on that's never been there. And that was my first show.
So I suppose we have to talk about the other five. Let's. I haven't written down there, but I prefer you telling me the next one, how it came about.
So the next one was, I was talking to all these coaches. As of right now, I've interviewed over 750 coaches, and in all different modalities. So the next one came about when I had a thought. I'm like, I'm talking to all these coaches. What if I have two of them at the same time, and they talk about how they coach, not about their life story? Because Coaching Call is, we go from the basis of where'd you grow up, who impacted you, and how'd you become who you are. So then I said, now that we know who you are, come on my show and share something that's valuable to someone who may want to learn about you. And then you can share your link. You can share so they can follow you, so they can become a client of yours. So there I am giving these coaches an opportunity to come and share something and maybe get clients. And so that's where Heroes Rising started. Why did I call it Heroes Rising? Because I truly believe in coaching, and I believe that every coach is a hero to us. Your teacher who taught you how to spell, your kindergarten teacher, your math teacher, if you're a lawyer, your all the teachers that went along, whatever it is, whatever profession you are or you have, it was those people who made an impact. So let's have somebody say, I want to learn from you. I want to learn from Roy because he's an amazing coach, and I want to be part of that. So that's where I believe that every coach is a hero, and every great coach has a coach. They continue to grow themselves. So that's how Heroes Rising started. And then from there, I said, Heroes Rising, I like that. And then I said, I got to do another show. And then from there, I went to the Seer Show. And the Seer Show is about seeking the truth, a big pharma, health and fitness and mindset, because that's everything that helps us understand. I'm so much in fitness. I've worked out every day of my life. And, I've already done push-ups this morning. I've already worked out, but I'm not done working out today. So for me, fitness is huge. And so that's where the Seer Show came. The Seer is the seeker, right? And then I said, okay, I love business so much. I've helped so many people in their businesses. I constantly get people reaching out to me. Hey, I have this issue with my business. I have this, I have that. Can you help me? Sure. And so then I started the business prowess, right? Prowess means skill or knowledge, right? So that's where business prowess came in. And then I've been so fortunate that people share tips with me all the time. And I've learned so much. So I said, I got another show I have to do. And it's called New Tip Daily. So every day I do different tips on business, finance, on health and fitness, on meditation. And then I have on a Friday, I have a coach come on and they give out a tip. So that's the premise of my 5 shows.
So I've listened to some of the ones on the tips, and you've done one on kind of saying the I love you kind of thing, and you broke it down the word love. You might just touch on that, because I think it was actually a brilliant tip that you gave on that episode.
So, and actually, I think it might have been yesterday or the day before, and I think it might have been Wednesday. And what happens is we use that word, but not how it was meant to be. So if you say, I love you, but if you say it constantly, it's losing its meaning the more you say it. It's not a word that has depth or power. And I love pizza. I love my coffee. I love my new car. I love my dog. It takes the meaning away from love. And then all of a sudden there's Valentine's Day where Hallmark, they wanted you to buy stuff. So why do you think you go during the Valentine's Day? It was commercialized. So love is not, now it's a commercialized business. It's a multi-billion-dollar business where people are capitalizing on that. And instead of saying, I love you, we say it because it's almost like, hey, can you pass me the sugar? Hey, can you pass me a potato? Instead of saying or showing somebody love by a caress, or going to the store and saying, hey, you know what? I see this oil and this, wow, this is going to help your body, your hair, and your skin. Wow, I think I know my partner or my friend can benefit from this. So I'm going to buy this for them. It's not their birthday. It's no reason. I just thought of them. And now I'm showing them my love by just giving it to them. And they're going to go, whoa, what is this for? Actually, I was thinking of you. And that's showing love. And saying it, with meaning, not just in passing. I think we bring the word back to what it was supposed to be. It's supposed to really get somebody. When I tell you I love you, you're going to go, that's amazing.
And I think you were touching as well that sometimes people say it just to hear it back. And I mean, I think we've all witnessed that that when someone is saying it, they just want it back. And is that they're, that they're eager, they need the feeling of being loved, and that by telling you, because sometimes people will say it 20 times a day, which for me, I prefer showing it, just like you just said there. Hey, this person would like that. I mean, even Christmas or birthdays, like birthdays are kind of different, but say, Chris, when you kind of have to buy somebody a present, I totally prefer when I'm passing and I go, oh, I know this is ideal for my mum or whoever, that there's no occasion. But unfortunately, we've come to this situation where a lot of people are just saying, hey, I love you, I love you, I love you, but they're really wanting to receive it.
Yeah. It's self-serving. They say it, I love you, but what happens if you look at somebody and they'll tell you, I love you, and you almost feel obligated to say it back or say, oh, thank you. And if you say thank you, that doesn't land well with them because they expected to hear, I love you too. Or a lot of people will say, right back at you. Like, what is that?
This all.
Yeah. So the words we use, and that's why I love communication so much, the words we use should have an impact, should communicate a message. But if it's a word that we use all the time, how are we perceived with the words we use? That's why I think words really can capture somebody, or they mean nothing.
Well, excellent. And you've created events. I don't know, was it a previous event or this one that you're planning, Heroes Rising Apex event or something like that? You might tell me a bit about that.
Well, that one unfortunately did not come to fruition because I did a virtual event and that was pretty successful. It was a 3-hour event and really successful. We had so many people on there, and it was supposed to be an in-person event following that one. And the person that was supposed to do all the sales for me didn't. It did. So it's a collaboration. So they kept telling me they were doing it, but they didn't. So what ends up happening, that one didn't come to fruition, but I've had other events. I also have something called Mosaic Experiences. And Mosaic Experiences is where we have an event. We bring people together in person, and we go and experience something, and then we take them into a classroom setting, and we teach them about goal setting, mindset, health and fitness, or whatever subject that we're talking about. For example, I'm having one February 10th, and it's on vision board, right? Creating your goals. But sometimes a picture is worth 1,000 words. So I can see the pictures behind you, and every one of your shows covers a different image, and the image can tell us what that is. So if you have a goal and you have a goal of a strawberry, or a picture of a strawberry, but your goal is, I want to earn $1,000 more a week, that's the wrong image. You should have a picture of $1,000. But if you have a picture of a strawberry and an apple and a banana and vegetables, that tells you, I need to eat healthier. So you put that image there. So the images that we use a vision board in order to quickly remind us of what we want. If you have an image of a beautiful home, if you have an image of even of family, you know that family is going to be important for your future. So you need to stay connected. You need to reach out to your kids. You need to reach out to your cousins or whoever. So when we envision something, sometimes if we write it down, which when we write it, we also write it in our brain. If we think it but don't say it, it stays a thought. A thought becomes powerful when we can speak it. And then it becomes even more powerful when we can write it. And so when we can look at it, man, the power is getting deeper and deeper. And so we can learn to accomplish our goals. And that's why I like doing a vision board. And we're having a whole session on that, 4 hours, of how to create your own and teaching people, have all the tools and everything. So there's all different kinds of things that we help people understand as coaches.
I'm with the vision boards, because I mean, I've heard of, I think it was John Vassar, that guy, that he had the house that he wanted. He ended up that he had this house that he'd love to have, but it was just to look like that, and he ended up actually having that house. But which is strange how these things work. But like, what's your kind of recommendation for people? Because sometimes people do it, but they just kind of park it. Should it be in your front room? Should you have it on your screensaver? Should you have it on your computer? What's the best? Because I think the more you see it, the more chance of it happening, because you become, it becomes ingrained, and you're like, okay, yeah, this is what I want in my life, rather than wherever you put it, and you see it maybe once a week if you're lucky.
So, for example, if you're in front of a computer all the time, you don't need to see the name of your computer, right? If you're looking at it, why don't you put a little words there? So your affirmations that you can say every day. For example, I have 101 proverbs that I can take this out and I can read something, right? And it has two sides, and I can read a proverb. So that is a biblical thing. So it's right in front of my desk. I can grab it. I can look at it. The other one that I have is when I open my closet door, in the back of my door, nobody sees my door. But when I open my closet, I can look, and there's all the images. There's my vision board. And people think, oh, I have to put it in the mirror. But what if other people come to look in your house and they're like, what is that? And then maybe they'll make fun of you or this, or why do you have this stuff up there? But if you keep it in a sacred place that you look at every day, it will keep resonating. It will keep, and you will take action to make those things come to fruition.
I love that's brilliant. So, like we said, because I mean, I've got the meditation podcast and everything, and sometimes, with the martial arts, the kind of mindfulness as well and being present. But like, have you kind of touched into different types of meditation and breath work?
Mm-hmm. I have. I do that every Thursday. One of my podcasts is on meditation. So I start by lighting incense, and I've taught people how to do the pattern of breathing. And there's different patterns you can do. The tip of the tongue going up, coming down, how to breathe long, short, all these different things. And then one of the things for me for meditation is because every day I meditate. And I've been meditating before I even knew what it was, before even I knew the word meditation, because I was a loner when I was a kid. I would sit by myself and I would think, and I would look, and I would observe. And I think one of the biggest things that we forget, because we're always on our phones, on our tablets, but we don't take the time to reflect. We don't take the time to think about our day, to manifest what we want in our lives. So a lot of times, meditation should be that. It's not like sitting in the darkness and going, and saying a mantra, which those are great, right? But sometimes meditation could be taking a walk and just seeing nature, grounding yourself, taking your shoes off and feeling the dirt underneath your feet, the grass, the sand if you go to the beach, wherever you are. One of my screensavers is of a mountaintop, and I'm looking at grass and trees and the sky. And so that's one of my screensavers. And I have two monitors that I'm looking at right now. And one of them is that image I just told you. Because, oh my God, I just want to be there. I want to be walking in that pasture. I want to feel the air. So right now I'm indoors, but I know later on I'm going to be outdoors. So everywhere I go, I live in the moment. So to me, that's meditation. Right now, I'm here present for you because you gave me this opportunity to come speak with you. And I'm grateful for that. So thank you.
Well, when you mentioned about the incense, like same with kind of candles and stuff like that. There's so many that people are buying and they're toxic. And is there a way for people to know which ones with the incense are okay and that they're not going to harm you? Because I know that you can buy them just for $2 or something like that, and they're doing damage to you. Is that something that you're conscious of?
Well, I got to tell you, with Chinese martial arts, my grandmaster used to light not only incense, but there's a paper and it burns really slow, but it was like a leaf, like this thick, and he would light it, and the smoke was everywhere. You couldn't even see the person 2 feet away. And that's how he used to have it. That's harmful. That's not good. So that I don't do. But if you have an incense that you light up and it's in the corner of your room, you don't have all the smoke constantly in your face. I think that's okay. Think about if somebody's smoking a cigarette. It's not just the cigarette smoke, right? Because or the ash, the smoke that comes from the cigarette is one thing, but when they inhale it and they blow it out, now they're taking all those toxics, and so you get secondhand smoke. When you take a little incense like this, right? You could barely see it. That's what I'm talking. So they have different flavors, different senses, different smells. I think that's okay, as long as you don't do it all day long. By the time this runs out, I think you're good. Lighting candles constantly all the time in a small space might not be good. Also, you have to be careful that you're not lighting anything on fire. So my facility in one of my martial arts schools is 10,000 square feet. And I light one candle in there so that my lobby smells good. The size of my lobby is the size of most martial arts schools. So when people come in, they get that refreshing smell. And it's funny because a lot of the people that come in, they're like, well, I like the candle you have today. So they don't come in and they don't smell like it's a martial arts school. Excuse me. It doesn't smell like a martial arts school. Why? Because my martial arts school is not a martial arts school. It's a second home. I make people feel comfortable. My martial arts school is not dirty. People walk into my martial arts school and they go, wow, this place is beautiful. I am very fortunate that I own a wood shop, so I built the whole place. I all the woodwork and everything. It doesn't look like a martial arts school. It looks like a fancy place. That's why my lobby's very elaborate. Everything you come in, I have bookshelves. Everything's custom built. And sometimes when I have an office I don't even use, and once in a while somebody goes, "Can I talk to you in the office?" Sure. They come to my office, they go, "Look, my gosh, this is beautiful. I've never been in here." Like, you come anytime you like. That doesn't mean I'm going to go in it because I don't use my office, right? My office is anywhere you and I are going to have a conversation. That's my office. I don't do sales in my office. I do sales wherever you are. So if you want to ask me about membership, I'll say it in front of my other members. I have nothing to hide. So a lot of martial arts schools, they're like, oh, I got to go talk to them in private because, no, I will say, hey, look, if you like what we have going on here, come on in. And I know I went from incense to martial arts school, so I apologize for that.
No, that's fantastic. And just finally, because I mean, we've both done a load of podcasts, interviewed a load of people, and I know that I've changed my life. I'd have a guest on and I go, that's interesting. And it's not that just because somebody says something that you believe them, but then you do further research and everything. And I'm just curious, has there been ones that like stick out to you that you have had on your show that, or any of the shows that you've done?
In a good way or a bad way?
Either or, whatever comes to mind.
So one of the things that is, I always tell people, and I send them a whole thing on how to make sure that you have a good background, a good microphone, a good camera. And what winds up happening is, and one of the things I say on there is, don't be afraid to get loud, to scream, to be happy, to move your hands. And I had a gentleman that I had a pre-call with. I always do that. I want to feel the temperature of how they are. If they speak well, great. If they stumble a lot, it's not going to be a good show because they don't know how to talk, or how to communicate properly. And so what winds up happening is that I'm doing that in the pre-call. And so I had a gentleman who was amazing on the pre-call. And thank God I recorded it because it was not live. Because when we went, okay, I said, okay, show's starting, let's do it. It was crickets. The guy barely spoke. He was low. He was like this. I was like, what's going on? And I try to excite him and ask him all these questions about, he had an exciting, but I think he got nervous because the recording started and he shut down. And that's one recording I never put out. I couldn't. It would have made him look bad. Forget me, right? Because I'm moving. I'm action based. But for him, it would have made him look bad. So I just never put that show up. And I got to tell you, I'm very fortunate that everybody who's been on my show has been amazing. And the reason is because I do those pre-calls, because I ask the questions. And for me, it's about them. So I never put anybody on the spot and ask them a question that they're not going to be happy talking about, because it's about them, right? I've had people cry on my show, and it's not because I'm going to make you cry. No, it's because I asked them a question, and they said, nobody's ever asked me that question. And then they started thinking, and tears started to flow. And they're like, excuse me, I'm so sorry. I said, please don't be sorry. I said, thank you. Thank you for being you. This is who I wanted on the show, you. I want you on my show. That's why you're here. And then they apologized. They cried. I said, you don't have to apologize. And then I said, well, why are you crying? And they said, well, because, and then they went deeper, right? And I've had other people reach out to me and they go, thank you so much for allowing me to be on your show, because my mother saw it. I said, oh, that's great. And she goes, my mother learned things about me she never knew. I was like, that's interesting. So I have been very fortunate that I've had amazing people on my show. I know you've been on my show, right? So thank you for being on my show.
Well, love it. So you might let people know, how can they get in contact with you?
Sure. So it's pretty easy. If you go to the thing called Calendly, and you put Calendly Sifu Rafael. It's my title, which is Sifu, SIFU, and then Rafael, my name, which is RAFAEL, and then /15 minutes. That gives you 15 minutes to see if we're a good match to be on the show. If they want to look me up and see some of my things, they can go to my Facebook, which is Sifu Rafael G, or on LinkedIn, just look up Sifu Rafael and I pop up.
And anyway, what I do, I'll make sure I put the links, but I also want to put the YouTube one as well, because like you're doing the YouTube for a long time, because there's some videos there, I don't know, where they're like 12 years plus or something like that, but from the different martial arts, how to punch and stuff like that, because I know a lot of people are interested in that, so I'll make sure I put all the links. Thank you very much.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
So that's all for the Speaking Podcast. You'll find all our episodes on speakingpodcast.com. Until next week, take care. So I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. As mentioned at the start, you can find my 6 podcasts on roycollin.com or scan the QR code if you're looking to start a podcast or do a podcasting tour, help with that. Also, if you're looking for a virtual assistant, we also have that service. And you can help the show by visiting the store, supporting our sponsors, or making a donation. Until next week, take care.